have been called sir all my life. It started in 5th grade when my mother gave me money for the first time to go get a haircut and new clothes that I'd like to wear. She didn't realize that I come back with a short haircut and a boy's green button-down shirt, which I loved and wore for many months after. She was shocked. She did not see that coming. Every photo of me before 5th grade, I was in a dress with long hair, and every photo after 5th grade, I wore pants and a button-down boy shirt and had short hair. I've been called sir everywhere there's service involved. Buses, supermarket, restaurants. I used to get very mad. I'd be like, "It's ma'am, sir." The highlight was one day when I was coming out of a restroom in a restaurant, and a woman was coming in, and we opened the door at the same time. She looked at me, she looked at the sign on the door, then she looked at me again, and then she took a step back, and then looked at the sign again, and took a step forward, and finally I stopped her and said, "No, it's okay, it's the women's restroom." I smiled and I left. That was the high point of my identity confusion, and it happened more than once in many restrooms across the world. In my 20s, I moved to Los Angeles, came out, and started dating. I started getting more compliments about looking more butch and dressing in boys' clothes, so it got a little easier for me. And I started to realize that there was some value in looking the way I did. I stopped yelling at people for thinking I'm a man and calling me sir, and I'd react with more compassion and say, "I know, yeah, I dress like a guy." But despite all of that, there was still a lot of internal shame about looking different, about being butch. I was shamed by my mother a lot when I was younger. The green shirt with a button got us into a lot of fights because my mother did not like that shirt and did not want me to wear it to family gatherings and to important events. But I felt like myself wearing it. In 2010, I went to a party in Highland Park, which is a very queer community. Now, this was 2010, okay? The internet existed, but was not as big as it is today. Facebook was kind of there, maybe. Bruce Jenner is not transitioned yet. There was not that much talk of or understanding of what it means to be trans. Most of my information came from going to drag queen shows, but I've never met a female-to-male transgender. I'd kind of heard of them, I knew they existed, but I've never met one face-to-face. As I walked into this party, there was this really nice, cute couple, straight couple, standing in the living room. The guy was tall and thin, attractive, with short blonde hair, button-down shirt, and a leather jacket. His girlfriend was a cute, attractive German girl. I started talking to them. I don't know why. Maybe it was because it was the time or the environment, but right away they shared with me that he was actually a transgender male. He transitioned from female to male, and she was his girlfriend, who was a straight woman. I was not shocked, but I was surprised. The first wave of feeling that came over me was actually a wave of jealousy. Here was this guy who looked like a guy, who used to be a woman, and was very comfortable with the way he looked and with his clothes. He acted like a man. He was a man. He had a girlfriend. I remember thinking that this person roams around the world as a man and doesn't have any identity questions. He doesn't wonder what people see when he walks into a room, which is something I always think of when I walk into any room. We started talking as his girlfriend wandered away. I don't know why. He was very nice to me, and we connected, and we spent the rest of the party talking. And finally, I couldn't wait, and I asked him, "Can I ask you a question about you being a trans person? Because I've never met any female-to-male trans." And he said, "Yeah, sure." So I looked at him and felt very comfortable since he was very open. "So how does it work?" He responded with, "What do you mean? How does it work?" So I jumped in and said, "All right, I'm going to ask you something, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, okay?" He looked at me and said, "Okay." And so I asked him, "Do you have a penis?" He answered quickly, "No, I don't." I continued, "Okay, so how does it work?" And we spent the next 2 hours talking about it all. He explained to me what he went through and how it all worked, how it works with his girlfriend and what his life was like. He was very open, and it was very encouraging. In my mind, while he was talking, I felt very jealous and very inspired, and it felt like something I would like to have. But then again, changing everything and showing up as a different person, as a man, it's a big deal. I imagine seeing my mom's face and having to explain it to everybody, having to explain to everybody what the hell was going on. It just felt too much. And yet, I felt this sense of relief and inspiration, seeing how he looked. It felt like the solution to my suffering from this internal shame about being a butch woman was found. So I started playing around with the idea. What if? I didn't have to do this tomorrow, but what if? It would be so much fun to walk around the world being okay with the way I look and not having to explain and having to say something to prove I was a girl whenever I walked into a public space that was not queer. Then one day, I came across this movie called Becoming Ches. I don't know if you guys ever saw it. Chez's daughter decided to transition from female to male, and he made a documentary, very honest and personal documentary, about his journey. This was before Transparent as aired, before Orange is the New Black and Netflix TV shows had trans characters in many of their shows. I didn't know anything. In the documentary, he was very honest. I remember sitting on my couch watching this documentary. He was describing taking these hormones, male hormones. He explained looking at the camera. I'm becoming a man. I have these thoughts about women. They really annoy me. I started yelling at my girlfriend for no reason because she just talks too much. I don't know what's happening to me. I'm becoming a man. I'm starting to have smells that I'm not sure what they are. I'm feeling different about things. I'm less emotional and more distant. I'm starting to change. As I was sitting there at that moment listening, I had this epiphany. I realized that I do not want to be a man, no offense. I do not want to be a man. I love being a woman. I love communicating like a woman. I like seeing the world through the eyes of a woman. I just like to dress like a man, but I do not want to be a man. I love being a woman. At that moment, I decided that it was not for me, and that what I needed to do was to heal my shame around looking like a butch woman and wanting to dress like a man. I am grateful to this documentary for helping me not to make the big decision that I regret later, and that I was able to find a path for my journey of staying a woman who liked to dress like a man. Thank you.